G'day. Bit back to front with this video. I've sort of started it right at the end and done bits and pieces in between, so it's going to be a bit funny. But anyway, like the title of the video says, run a sluice for 3 hours. I come out primarily to cut firewood, and it was only that I actually looked and the creek was running. It had a bit of flow in it, and I thought, I'll grab the river sluice out. I'll go down to a spot that I keep working. I set it up and I just started digging. I was actually starting to get some nice bits of gold and little patches. It was only very patchy. You'd dig it out and then the next bit would have only a couple of colours. But alright, so what I'll do, I say it's all going to be back to front. You're going to be looking at the end of the day now, and you're going to be seeing bits and pieces that I did a little bit earlier, because I say I didn't intend on doing a video, and then I sort of end up going, yeah, bugger it, I'll do one. Show you the gold. Now, you're not going to see a lot of it because it's covered over in the ironstone in those first few riffles, but you can see there's quite a bit of fine gold there at the start of the sluice, and there is some sitting down there on top of that moss and obviously buried in it. So I'm sort of all back to front. I'm doing it all higgledy-piggledy. I was very selective where I was going to work because I knew I only had a limited amount of time. And I say I've been working this spot and I know that there's just gold mixed in amongst the gravel. But in saying that, there's certain areas in that gravel where the gold is concentrated more than other spots. And that's because we got that one big tuft of grassy stuff there. And what was behind it, I hadn't really worked. I'd worked both sides of it, but not directly behind it. So what you're going to see in the next few clips is what I was doing behind that little tuft of grass. And then I'm going to go back to doing the final cleanup, sluicing the bucket, and then show you how much gold I got. Alright, so bit back to front, but you'll get the general idea. I often get told I have a knack for finding gold. That may be true sometimes. What I do have a knack for is spotting gold. And I say particularly when you've been working an area and you come back after you've had some rain and it's washed some of the mud and the silts away, and you can still see bits of gold sitting in the gravel. And I've just spotted a bit here. And I'll just use this stick, I'll point it out and then I'll pick it up using the stick. So we've got rock sitting there, and just sitting in behind that rock there's a little bit of gold right there. Can't pick it up. Nice little flake. Alright, back to doing some digging. That was where that little flake of gold was sitting, behind the rock. And I just dug a bit of that material out and chucked it in the pan and just panned it out. Don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but there would be odd colours there, maybe 30. A lot of it I've just washed down. So I'm just going to tip that straight into the little sluice. So all that gravel through there has got that type of gold in it. Talking about low and high pressure areas, I always talk about inside bends and obstacles that the water actually runs around, creates a low pressure area behind. There is another low pressure area that I've never talked about. Now, I've got the little creek sluice set up here, and it's a good example of trying to identify these other low pressure areas that aren't really obvious. So we all have seen the videos about how that works at the head of it. Some nice gold there already. But down towards the tail end of it, there's rock sitting right at the very end of it. Now it's not getting washed out. And there's nothing there behind it that's stopping that rock from coming out. So why is there rock sitting there? Well, you can start to get an idea. I'll put this down close to the water. The water itself is creating a low pressure area. Because the sluice is running into water that's sitting up around halfway mark, it's running into deeper water. So it's pushing against that water that's already there, and it slows it down. You can tell it's getting slowed down because it's wanting to rise up as it comes out of the sluice. So that's why you've got stones sitting there. The same thing applies with wide and narrow areas in a creek, or a stream I should say. If you've got an area where it's really wide, the water can fan out across the wide area. As it starts to come back to where it starts to narrow down, you've got all that water that's trying to push into an area, and it gets squashed. So the water pressure increases, but at the same time, right there at a certain point, the water pressure lessens because it's trying to push into an area and it can't fit. So everything slows down again, and then it picks up really fast and drags it out. All right, I'll do a bit more classifying and feed the sluice a bit more, see what we get. ready for the drive home. So yeah, bit chopped and mushed up this video, but you still got to have a look at what I got up to today. Even though I didn't spend long out here, it was still pretty productive. So this was the tally for the day. Firewood, of course, for the warming of the house. So that was what I got in 3 hours of running the sluice and doing a bit of panning. And so you can see there's a couple of bits of lead in there. Look like they've been, or looks like solder off a tin. Lead shot, and of course plenty of fine gold. Alrighty. Well, that's it. I'm back to work now for 7 days, so get out there and get into it. Don't let work get in your way like me. Hope you're finding lots of yellow. Until the next video, have a good one, and I'll see you later.